amount of unemployment and considering the amount of MNCs, okay, the large scale developers, they are actually increasing in numbers. As Carl and everyone with a good economists, they say that the rich sector is actually increasing, whereas the poor sector becoming poorest of the poor. You being parliamentarians, what are your views according to that? Do you actually think that we are not doing anything for poor people, or do we actually are?
Government of India has definitely introduced a lot of incentives and schemes which are for the rural people to ensure that unemployment is eradicated from the rules. But looking at the statistics, India has been in poverty, so it would take a little amount of time to overcome that poverty so that we can actually reach that kind of success. Of course, India has been progressing also in eradicating poverty. Some schemes have been successful. India's GDP is growing, and I think that's a significant mark of success.
How you being a shareholder can actually address the idea of unemployment?
Parliamentarians, having shareholders in the national economy and the democracy of the nation, are very important to eradicate poverty. In India, poverty is mainly within the rural areas. In the last 10 years, the Indian Parliament, through its democracy, has eradicated poverty and took 200 million people above the poverty line, which is the highest in the world. So our democracy is striving towards saving our economy and saving the poor.
How do you analyze or strategize the idea of budgeting? Because that becomes very important considering the percentage of income tax everybody is paying. So how do you actually aggregate and analyze the idea of number as we being civilized we have to pay to government?
I believe budget should be analyzed on basis of the resources required, and also for the amount of, like, for the divisions, the manpower, resources, and many more assets which are required for development.
As my learned student, as you have mentioned about the resources, so do you think we have adequate amount of resources that is being flourished to all the citizens?
I believe although we do have adequate amount of resources, there is definitely a bit of bias where all of the resources are starting to be pooled towards the rich people, and the poor people have started to become having lack of resources, and it definitely widens the gap between the rich and the poor, which I feel should not be widened.
Fair enough. One by one, if may ask you, whatever the laws that we are having for people, if you being parliamentarians, you being an MP, that you would like to change something, the law that is being passed by all of you, but you feel that something that is need to be changed, so what would be that? One by one, if you can tell me that one change that you would like to bring?
India is a developing country and requires a good bit of time to expand the poverty line and nullify it.
Okay.